Links, you join the channel here on subscribe. So thanks to everyone who's donating to that tech fund, Wargoose and Vegan, and everyone else has been very, very generous. When I get the computer, I'll be able to start editing videos, which a video like this would actually require a lot of editing, because to get through this, do a little 10-minute video without losing your mind, it turns out to be incredibly difficult, as I've started and stopped this several times. So the short version is this guy goes, taxpayer life cycle. You give money to the government. No, friendo. They take money at gunpoint. They will send men with guns to your house to take the money. Biden gives it to Ukraine. Ukraine runs it through FTX, and Bankman takes it and runs it through the DNC, and then those people get elected during the month-long elections. Do I have that right? Yeah, I'd say that's pretty close. And the other comment is joking about Jonah Hill practicing the Bankman Fried accent. The thing is, that's never going to happen. Like, if you stop to think about that, you think, oh, so Hollywood's going to make a movie about Bankman and Biden and the DNC defrauding people? Like, what's the color of the sky in the world? You think that's going to happen? That the thing is, even as soon as he wrote this tweet, it's like he knew it was a funny tweet, but also, like, as soon as he typed it, he goes, oh, yeah, that's never going to happen. So the précis is Bankman Fried, and his other investor is, I want to say Spielberg. So they said that Bankman is kind of not a useful idiot, but they look at him like he's probably the one who's going to take the fall. Him and his girlfriend, or maybe a wife. I don't know. They're in some kind of like 10-person gangbang in the Bahamas or something bizarre like this, and they took investor money. And of course, they paid themselves. He said something like, I have a Toyota Corolla. It's like, yeah, you got like a $20 million house in the Bahamas or something like that. It's like the Toyota Corolla doesn't offset a mansion. Yeah, I can. The Toyota Corolla is actually kind of a neat little car. Anyway, and they funneled money into the DNC, which helped push the midterms, where Biden promised that taxpayers would pay for your feminist college degree, which he knew the court would probably strike down. I don't know, maybe it's an unconstitutional tax, which, technically, I guess so is inflation. It's an unconstitutional tax, and so is the healthcare thing under Obama. Those are all, but war also requires approval, right? It's like, if you, and kind of, as it turns out, as we get into the end stage of this, the Constitution is just a piece of paper without people who, it's a voluntary, it's consent. It's a voluntary consent, right? It's just a piece of paper without people who are on board with it. I say that as carefully as possible. But the kids who said that they've got college debt for like anything other than, if you're going to college for anything other than a STEM degree, there's kind of pointless. They have debt for their, I don't know, their art degree or something, and they say, oh, the taxpayers are going to pay it. So they vote down, or they get out to vote more than they ordinarily would. And of course, as they're voting, the machines break again. And so do the cameras, a la Epstein style again. And as people point out on Twitter, they go, it's weird that every time that happens, when they recalibrate the votes, it actually always comes out for the Dems. I mean, how do you vote your way out of something you didn't vote your way into? It's pretty obvious by now. So in a weird twist of fate, everyone polled the past 2 years hates Biden, and they know that the country is going in the wrong direction. And that's an objective poll of the left and the right. Like, everyone, objectively, you just look at the numbers of what happens with the country in the past 2 years. Objectively, it's underwater. Left and right, people were able to admit that. And 2 years later, even before the midterms, it's like people, even the left, was starting to look at like inflation and gas prices and going, oh, this is, Trump is literally Satan. But you look at Biden, it's like, so we got an 80-year-old dementia patient in office, and he's not, obviously he's not running his Twitter. Like, nobody believes that. And nobody believes he's running the country either. So like, we're seeing some wavering on the left to send a message. There should have been a red wave, and I think I don't know what I can say on YouTube. So anyway, a weird twist of fate. Everybody who was polled indicated that the elections were going to go in a different direction because of the numbers. Inflation, you can't hide inflation. But the left got elected anyway. All I'm saying is form local hiking groups or something like that. Because if riots are the voice of the unheard, then, what is something like this? So the bigger push to this New World Order dystopian future is that now the Dems will probably regulate crypto or push a digital currency with a social credit system. And before you think, oh, what gross exaggeration. Yeah, I mean, people have been saying things over the past 3 years. They've been making predictions, all those crazy tinfoil hats. And the thing is, with social media, those videos are still going around, especially on Gab, like predictions from 3 years ago. And those videos are going around Gab and Telegram, even on Twitter. You go, oh, so that all came to pass. Okay. So people who are extrapolating along those lines of totalitarian state continuing to seize power via this Hegelian dialectic, it's reasonable to assume that you may want to pay attention to those predictions. Something like a social credit. Oh, that could never happen here. And you say that and you go, oh, why? It's just ask why. What's to prevent it? What's to prevent it from happening? Every horror that you can think of out of, I was going to say 1984, Brave New World, Animal Farm. It's like, yeah, but also you can just say it out of like Russia, China, Cuba, Southeast Asia, Central America. Like, every horror out of those systems, they will do because nobody will stop them. There's no system in place. There's no balance of power when it's been usurped. So the Republicans are not even trying. They are looting the treasury, just like the Dems are. There's plenty of, you look at the people in office who have got like an excess amount of wealth that's a little bit hard to explain. It's not just Nancy Pelosi with $140 million via insider trading. There's on both sides of the aisles for sure. I think there's a Republican guy who's worth $250 million. I don't know if he had it before he got in office, but like everyone gets in office suddenly, it's like, shouldn't we do something about that? Oh, yeah, I guess we should. Like, just obviously, I mean, it's like deck chairs in the Titanic, but it's like nobody's even trying. So yeah, we want Congress to limit the amount of money it makes. Yeah, good luck on that. So this is a massive scam involving Biden and the DNC, and the media will barely cover it. Even social media is barely covering it. Soros is their biggest donor, and Bankman Fried is number 2 donor for the DNC. So some people might do a little time. He might turn out to be not exactly a useful idiot, but he might turn out to be the fall guy because the guy who was manipulating him, I don't know if I want to say Spielberg or something like that. It seemed like he was the guy who was pulling the strings, or his girlfriend's dad or something like that, who is set to replace Yellen at oh God, what's that thing? The Department of the Treasury, I think. But the money is obviously long gone. It went into advertising for those midterms, and the elections are over. They used taxpayer money to fund Ukraine and various other countries that I won't mention. Don't say anything in the comments. Yes, YouTube unfortunately knows all the dog whistles. Those dog whistles just get the channel removed. And I know how frustrating it is to like have to self-censor. Yes, obviously I know how self-censorship works because I don't have any editing on this Kindle. It's just one shot and done. So I have to self-censor all the freaking time. So that, there are literally homeless tent cities and open borders. Well, that's not exactly accurate because that implies a two-way street, and I'll leave it at that. Homeless tent cities. You have homeless tent cities in America and taxpayer money going out of the country. I'm no politician, but I think I would end that immediately. So this is where we are. It's why I say that the voting stage is over. You look at the state of America now and tell me that the politicians on both sides sending money to foreign countries, it's not a country anymore. It never occurs to people to simply say, oh, hey, it's time to cut the taxes. Not, oh, this is what we're going to do with your taxes instead. No. If you have money sufficient to move overseas, you should just be cutting those taxes and start dialing back government, both sides. Giving taxpayer money to foreign countries, which of course in this case gets funneled into crypto, which gets funneled into DNC campaigns, that's a country that is beyond the voting stage. What's the political solution where the government, media, and financial institutions are all on the same page? America is not a country. It's an economic zone designed to extract taxpayer money to political parasites. Please explain to me the political path forward. Oh, we'll just vote harder. Well, the lesson learned was in 2020 when the voting machines and the mysterious water links, and when they put up the cardboard over the windows. Like, there's no shortage of evidence. That was 2020, but soy slop and sports ball and the bread and circuses are so satisfying. It's hard to make fat people Revolt, because well-fed people it's like by the time you're starving though, it's too late. It's like, no, you can't just vote harder. If you can't, that doesn't do anything. I mean, you like, even very reasonable, like I was saying on Odyssey and Bit Chute and the alt media, is like, everyone who knows what needs to be done is, I don't know, a few years too old and several pounds overweight, but like they know what needs to, like you look at this, you're like, yeah, once you're, I don't know, over 35, you can look at this, or maybe even 30, you can look at this and go like, oh, I see where this is going because I've read a history book or two. It's like, oh, well, thank God those government schools don't teach that history. Yeah, I don't know what's taught in the government schools now. Anyway, so form hiking clubs in your area, something like that. I mean, really, it sounds crazy, but it's like it's really not when you look at it. It's like what's the Sherlock Holmes book, the Arthur Conan Doyle? It's like you're presented with no other options but the last one. And you go, oh, that's the only path out of here. Is the path through. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. Thanks to everyone who's donated. I never paid attention to YouTube ad revenue before because it wasn't a whole lot, but it turns out that people who sub to the channel and then tip, that actually adds up quite a bit. So very sincere thank you to everyone who, and War Goose over on Cash App, very, very generous. And I'll see you guys on the next episode.